Hi, and welcome to the first 3 videos of the mini course. And this topic that we're going to cover is getting in touch with ourselves and our inner child. And this is the first step to healing. It's all about awareness, as I mentioned before. Without awareness, what we don't acknowledge, we cannot change. So this is all about acknowledging and getting in touch with our patterns that we have developed when we weren't even aware that we were developing our patterns. This would have been done on an unconscious level in our childhood. And this is the developmental part of our lives, where we are creating our childhood, we're adapting to society, adapting to our family, adapting to our environment. Now, we have 3 basic needs. 3 basic needs everybody does when we're growing up, when we're born and growing up, and that is to be seen, to be heard, and to be loved. And we also use the word validated, because sometimes we are not exactly looking for love in society, but we are looking for validation, which is one of our basic needs. Now, when we're growing up, we have these basic needs, but unfortunately, in some of our families, we just don't receive them. And I'm not here to blame any parent, because I'm a parent myself, and I know how difficult that can be. What it's about is that our parents bring into our life, as their parents brought into their life, their own wounding. And this is called legacy trauma and generational trauma. And unless and until one of the generations decides to get some help, do some self-healing work, being on a course like this, talking to a therapist, then nothing changes. And it is just passed down and passed down. But congratulations for showing up today, because by showing up today, you are deciding that you want to break the chain. You want to undo one of the links in the chain so that you don't pass on your wounding to your children and or the people in your life that you're in relationship with. And this is super important, because the first 3 years of our lives, we are totally dependent on others, our caregivers, parents, caregivers. And we develop based on their level of stress. And that's usually what dissociates our caregivers, our parents, our grandparents from us, is what interferes in terms of stress. And stressors can show up, they can be health-related issues, mental health-related issues, financial, career, family. There are all kinds of things that create stressors in our parents' life, our caregivers' life, and they are immediately handed down to us without anybody realizing it. This is all fairly unconscious stuff when we're born. So we're born into a family where certainly the first year of our life, we are totally dependent to be fed, to be clothed, to be cleaned. And the other 2 years of our life, to the age of 3, we are fairly pre-verbal. We're learning how to speak. We're learning how to communicate. And this is how we are going to survive in the world, by communicating. But when we can't communicate well to get our needs met, we are absorbing the world around us. And we do this in 3 ways. We do this physiologically. So we communicate through physiology. Sometimes you'll see a person blush and their skin tone will change, or they perspire, their heart will begin to race, their palms will begin to sweat. So we get messages from the physiology of a person of how they're feeling in that moment. We also get messages through their tonality. And the final way we get information is through people's words. So there's been a lot of research done on this by a professor, Albert Mehrabian, in the 60s, and he did this pie chart. So 55% of great communication is physiology. So it's nonverbal. It's not necessarily just body language, that's part of it, but as I said, it's our skin tone, our breathing, our perspiration system, and things like that also give a lot of information, what we're communicating to another person. The second largest part of communication is tonality, and that's 38%. So we already have 93% of communication without words. And tonality is something like this: go in the kitchen and get me a cup of coffee, please. Or I could say, go in the kitchen and get me a cup of coffee, please. Same words, different tonality, different meaning in communication. And then there are the words. And only 7% of communication are words, so you can see why emails and text messages can frequently be misunderstood. So why is this important? It's because we have very limited ways of communicating when we're young, and we're watching everything in our life. And we're getting all of our information, our values and beliefs from our family. And when our needs aren't met, some or all of them, we begin to adapt our personality to get our needs met. And we do things which I call coping strategies and survival strategies, and they become patterns, and then they become behaviors. So I'm just going to give you a few to think about, and I really want you to think about if you resonate or align with any of these, or maybe something else. So some of the big ones are people pleasing, where we go outside of self to get validation from others. We do things to make other people happy, not ourselves. Sometimes we actually push ourselves down, suppress ourselves to give to others. And I'm a recovering people pleaser, so I understand that one very well. And that's external validation. Other ones can be overachieving, where we just do really well in sport, or we do really well in education because it's very important to our family. So when we do well in those areas, our family says, well done, good job, and we get a lot of validation from them as well. Because we're not feeling that safe and secure in ourselves, so we're relying on the external world to give us validation. There are other ones like perfectionism. I'm sorry to tell you, but perfectionism is exhausting because nothing is perfect and we can't really attain perfection. So that one can be very exhausting. And hyper-independence, where we want to do everything ourselves. I'm going to go deeper into all of these, but I just wanted to get you started with some awarenesses of some patterns that you might have and where they come from and how we adapt our personalities to continue to get our needs met, or get them met for the first time if they weren't met in our childhood. So thank you for coming on this journey with me today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.